freeze a human being.
It's a scene out of a science fiction movie, freezing a human body after death, preserving it in a tank filled with liquid nitrogen at minus temperatures, then bringing it back to life decades later. There are already hundreds of cryogenically frozen people in the United States and Russia. An interest in cryopreservation is growing. A complex which will house 50,000 frozen bodies is being built in the U.S. state of Texas, in the hope that one day technology will bring them back to life. A UK High Court's decision to allow a terminally ill teenager to be cryogenically preserved has intensified the debate. Tissues from healthy people such as sperm, embryos, blood cells, and bone marrow are already being frozen for future use. But experts say reanimating a whole body is still a long way off.
It would be useful perhaps in transplantation to be able to cryopreserve a human kidney for banking the organs, but we can't do that. So scaling even further to a whole human body is a huge technological leap.
So what happens to the body when it is cryopreserved? The process needs to begin as soon as possible after death to stop brain cells dying through a lack of oxygen. The body is injected with chemicals to stop the blood clotting and to reduce damage to the brain. It is then packed in ice and transported to one of the world's 3 major facilities specializing in cryopreservation. There, the blood is drained and replaced with a mixture of antifreeze and organ-preserving chemicals. Finally, the body is placed in a container and lowered into a tank filled with liquid nitrogen and stored at a temperature of minus 200 degrees Celsius. The cost can vary from anywhere between $28,000 and $200,000. Thousands are believed to have signed up for the procedure in the hope that future medical advances will reverse whatever caused their death. But can reviving a dead body ever become reality? Christine Pirovolakis, The Newsmakers.
Garrett Smith joins me now from London. He's the first British resident to sign up for the cryonic preservation process. Good to talk to you, Garrett. First up, how much is this going to cost you?
Well, it's over £80,000, but I don't have to pay it yet. I have a life insurance policy, so per month it's quite little.
It is still, I mean, it's more than £80,000. That could go elsewhere. I wonder, don't you have a fear that they might be overpromising a little bit here, that they might be, you know, preying on a lot of hope that you might have, a lot of perhaps blind faith that this might happen?
No, I went out to visit them. I'd been subscribing to their magazine for some time beforehand, and it is now 30 years ago. I went out to visit them. And they've still been there for 30 years and have got bigger, and I know people that are involved. And, you know, the alternative is to be dead, so it's really less. Some people that smoke, for example, and that shortens your life, and costs more than I'm spending per month.
Sure. Okay, so then, you know, they inject the liquid nitrogen, and there's a process of cryogenic freezing. Your body is preserved, but the lights are still out. You're still dead. What makes you so convinced that in the future we're going to be able to breathe life back into you and reanimate you as a human being?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is this end. Transplants wouldn't work if all the cells in the body died instantly, the heart stopped beating. We've been able to do transplants for years. So if normally, for example, if you're a donor for a heart transplant, it's because your brain has been very badly damaged. But if you're normally death is declared on the heart not beating. So if your heart stops beating but your brain is in good condition, that's a good sign that they can preserve it. Now, we don't know if it's being preserved perfectly. But when I first joined, I mean, this was just a coincidence, but a book came out the same year called The Engines of Creation by Eric Drexler, in which he coined the term nanotechnology. And that's making tiny, tiny nanoscale machines that could go in and, they could do all kinds of things, but biologically they could go in and remove ice damage, fix things inside your body cell by cell, which sounds completely amazing, and it was very hard to believe and get anybody to believe it 30 years ago. But in a few days' time, the Nobel Prize for Chemistry is being given to some people that actually have started getting nanomachines working. So the way science and technology has changed in the last 30 years makes me feel very positive that it will be possible to do all these things.
Very finally, Garrett, I hope you don't die for a long time to come, but when you do, and when you are frozen, when you're preserved, when you're in your little capsule, tell me what you presume will happen if or when you open your eyes again. What sort of world do you think you'll wake up to?
I don't know. It will have to be a reasonable world. It can't be too awful, or they probably wouldn't wake you up in the first place. Obviously, there wouldn't have been a nuclear war or something dreadful like that. But on the other hand, it's a bit like saying to someone who's on the Titanic and they're trying to cobble together a raft out of chairs and tables or something because the last lifeboat's gone. What do you think New York's going to be like when you get there? Well, I don't actually really know. I'm just hoping I will get there.
Okay, Garrett, say hi to my descendants if you do make it to the other side. Tell them I was a good man.
I will. I will.
Good to talk to you. This is fascinating. I hope we do more on this in the future. Thanks so much for joining us, Garrett Smith.